Hey everybody, welcome back to Tommy's Tesla Tech and Travel. Today is a comic book edition. Well, actually today is a two-parter. The first part is a comic book edition. The second part will be a separate video. We're heading right now to the Tucson Comic and Toys Expo at the Eagles Hall. I can't remember the name of the place, but it's here in Tucson. It's a small, old-school, mom-and-pop type comic book show and toys. I've been looking forward to this for a while. And I'll be frank with you guys, I really needed this because I've had a really rough past 5 days. I know it's been a common theme, but between my ear, finding I'm diabetic, and then possible couple other medical complications now, I've basically been making doctor's appointments full time. So I could definitely use a day of comic booking. So we're gonna head out there right now, and comes a little surprise. We're gonna try out something kind of new. But first, we can't go to a comic book show without money. So we gotta stop by an ATM. So traditionally when we come to these shows, we bring a few things for comic book protection. You know, your traditional top loaders, which, easy to throw in a bag and board as long as it's, modern or Silver Age. I like to bring these. I buy a run. Like for instance, I'm looking for some X Factor books, things like that, where I need a run and lower priced books. I'll throw them in here, which is easy to transport. Now, those few times where I do buy like a higher end book that's raw, I always like to bring the Ultra Pro top loaders. Although this is an off-brand from Ultra Pro, it's the same thing essentially, magnetically locked and a hard case, very similar to what you get with something like a CGC or CBCS. It's just you can take and remove them. And for those of you who have been watching my channel for a while, especially comic book related stuff, we did a review not that long ago with CAPSULE, and I made some comments on it, and I gave my honest opinion on that particular one. And they reached out to me and they said, hey, you did say this, and they kind of broke it down for me. I was like, no, that's actually fair, and that makes sense. Because I did a review based off of just open and try to put books in there. And I couldn't put in my modern books, but I was also putting them in with a Silver Age bag and board. So I tend to put this bigger bags and boards on those books because when I put them in there, they're bouncing around because I travel to conventions and Phoenix, California, and I live here in Tucson, Arizona, in southern Arizona. So I want the boards to get dinged, not the books. So they said, we do Silver Age, capsules, which no, I did not know that. So they were kind enough to send me a couple. So we're gonna go look for books today, and I'm gonna use these instead of those. I brought those just because I don't know how many I'm getting, if I'm getting any at all. But we're gonna try these out. They sent me a clear one where you can see the back of the book as well, and the black back. I will say I'm not really sure what the black back serves as a purpose. If it's in a bag and board, you can't see the back anyway. But I'm sure there's a reason behind it, and I'm not gonna speak out of turn like I did last time. So I just went off of my initial reactions, which turned out to be kind of ill-informed. So we're going to try these out today, and I'll do a little more research before the end of the video to find out why one's clear and why one's a black back. But we'll find out, so yay. It's going to be fun, and I have to say, shout out to CAPSULE, because when they reached out to me, they didn't do it in like a, hey, you said this. They're like, hey, we watched your video, thank you for making it. We did want to point out a couple things, and you can do with this what you will. They didn't tell me to post like will you go back and retract what you said or anything like that? They just said, hey, this is what you said. We just want to make sure you have the right info. And when they said, hey, we want to give you a couple just to try out to see if this makes a difference, I thought that was super cool and nice of them. So let's do some comic book shopping. Let's try to utilize those cases, and let's see what we think about them this time around. Let's head out to the comic book show. It's about 25 minutes away from my house, and we're going to head there now. We stopped here and got our cash, so we are all set with everything we need. So those who've been in the hobby for a while, this is like your old school comic book show, like I was saying earlier. There's just some tables set up, comic books, some toy vendors. I mean, this place is no bigger than a regular storefront for the most part. So it's gonna be interesting to see what vendors are here and what books are available. I think it's technically open already, but we technically got 4 minutes before it's open. So just take some quick video outside. Let's get in line. And here we are. So first impression, definitely not as big as last year, but I already see some familiar faces, which is cool. First walk around the show, I've noticed that there's a lot fewer vendors than there has been in the past, but the cool thing is there's a lot more options of books than there was before. I've actually noticed the first appearance of Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel all throughout. That just tells me there was lots of speculation when that Marvel's movie came out, and a lot of people took that investment. Didn't work out so well. But let's go around and actually do some shopping now. I'm not looking for anything in particular, but I'm definitely looking for Silver Age stuff to utilize our comic capsules. I love seeing the stuff with the old Toys R Us label. We're actually just discussing this in the last video, the Mark Jeweler variants. Always something to look out for.
Like, you know, 10, 15 bucks, like...
I always buy a lot. She's always got a ton.
That's a maybe. Oh.
She's got a booth at one of the antique malls, I think. Like,
Yeah.
That one's for sure, probably.
they're back in a bigger way than they've been hitting.
It gets hotter.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Breakfast, let's go in.
Let's go get out of it.
First pickup of the show, it's a Silver Age book. I'm trying to put it inside of the case that Comic Capsule sent me. However, it's getting stuck on the side with the spine. But to be fair, this is an annual book, so it's a lot thicker than a normal Silver Age. So I hold off on opinion for now. But to be completely fair, I tried to use a regular top loader, and unfortunately it didn't fit in there either. So that's just not a Comic Capsule thing. That's the top loaders and the hard plastic. I ended up using my book protector to actually protect the book. Because it's an annual, so it's a lot thicker on the side. So not Comic Capsule's fault. But they did it with all the other comic book protective devices and cases I brought as well. So let's keep looking and see what else we can find.
Had some Spawn stuff in there. And he had some McFarlane stuff. He had signed 340. The comps that like made it out. Every other one was signed. The last sale was like...
Actually, one of the ones I'm looking for, but that tape on there might dissuade me. This one's in good shape, so I might consider that. Maybe get a deal for both. All right, finally picked up our Silver Age book that we're looking for the capsule. Let's do our test to see if it fits in there. So just like the rest of them, you push your thumbs to open. Book goes in like here. And with the bag and board, it fit, but I will be honest, it was a little bit tight fit, but it's working so far. So yeah, we got our Captain America number 105 and 104, but this one's going in a different bag. And shout out to our friends at Samurai for making this deal happen for a very good and reasonable price. In fact, there's a QR code. Give it a scan. Good things will happen. Looking at our friend Tom's booth, and like always, always got the good stuff for really reasonable deals. I think we're getting to a point where I'm going to start wrapping up here, but a couple more of the booths I would like to check out and flip through. Just here at Lady T, I always find good stuff there. We are looking for more raw books this time. Actually, I should probably put away these current books before I start flipping through other stuff. Well, that's a wrap for the TCAT show for me. I'm gonna head out to the car, head home, and let's do a recap of the books I got and how we protected them. Truth be told, I was probably done with the show like an hour ago. However, when you're a part of this community, you're friends with all the people here. So for every 5 minutes I was looking at books, I was probably chatting for 10. So it was nice to see them, but I'm not gonna lie, it's hurting. I'm ready to go home. But I do have to stop and charge the car, because I didn't charge it last night. Just one of the downsides of having an electric vehicle. If you have to charge it, it's like, and it's not just a quick fill up, it's like a 20-minute wait. Oh well, that's life. Let's go charge the car and talk about the books we picked up. Got some good deals. Talk to some good friends. Now that we're back home, let's talk a little bit about the show. I love smaller shows like that, because it's all about the community, and smaller shows like this is really those who are embedded into the comic book community. So I spent most of my time just catching up and talking with all the vendors who I like to consider friends, because we've all known each other and dealt with each other for so long. And with that being said, let's go over the books I picked up, because they made me some great deals on these books. The first one was our friend Tom over there from Tom's Comics. He knows I'm a Ninja Turtle guy, and we found some Turtles books I needed. We have Turtles number 24 from 1989, I believe. And this book in this condition, and it's cool about these ones. These are all basically on red, so they're all 9.8 candidates. I think they're more like 9.6s, 9.4s. But then again, I don't really grade these older books. I just want to try and collect the entire Turtles Mirage run if I can. But generally speaking, this first one tends to go for like, well, I'll show you right here. It's like 25 to 50 bucks depending on the grade. I paid $6, so good deal on that one. Next one is Turtles number 29, and this is a black cover, so it's hard to find in good condition. And there's very minimal wear on that spine. Like, this is a solid 9.4, 9.6 candidate. Also very seemingly on red. 9.8s go in this one for like 60 to 80 bucks. I think this is more in that like $20 to $25 price range. Again, $6. Next up is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 37. And I like this cover because it's before they got their own individual colors for their masks. That's more for the TV show so people can tell them apart easier. Like, this is obviously red like Raphael, but it's obviously Leonardo because he has the katanas. And what I like about this, it's very similar to like a Franzetta type cover because of the way the colors and everything. Like, I'm looking at an issue of Conan, kind of. I love this type of cover. This one, and it's American. This one is definitely a 9.8 candidate. There is no wear on that spine whatsoever. I would say, according to Go Collect and all them, I'd probably get $30 out of this if I chose to sell it. But I'm not. This is a book that is staying with me. Next up is a couple books I picked up from our friend Tim. And I don't necessarily collect X-Men, but I've always loved these covers because it's a kind of a cool part of the story. So let's start off with number 136. Very famous, iconic cover, Cyclops holding the Phoenix, aka Jean Grey. This one is a big issue for me just because this is like right around when I first became like cognizant of what comic book collecting was, because this one was like everywhere when I first started. And I've never had any of these books, and this was a really good condition, and Tim made me a good deal. I'll cover that after we go over the next book, which is X-Men 138, when X-Men quit the X-Men, when Cyclops quit the X-Men. A very iconic one, and I always love when I see the Toys R Us covers on there, because it reminds me of yesteryear, the easier days, the more happy days. I love this cover too. It's one of the other iconic ones, Exit Cyclops. These books, for their condition and everything, go right around $30 a piece. Tim got me both of them for $40, so that's not a bad deal at all. Next up was probably my favorite book I picked up at the show, something I've actually wanted for a while, but I don't really see them that often in the wild. And books like this, I will only pick up if I see them in the wild. And that is X-Men Annual number 14, the first cameo appearance of the Mutant Gambit. So he's not on the cover or anything, but he makes an appearance inside, I think on like 3 or 4 panels. And in this book, they were asking 40, and my friend Will over there, he got it to me for 30. And I believe in this condition, we'll have to look on Go Collect here, but it's probably like I want to say it's probably in that like 8 range, 7.5 to 8. And it's probably a $50 book. So a good deal on that one as well. So thanks, Will. And lastly, the books that I picked up, although they're not the most valuable, but they're key issues I need for my Captain America run. I'm trying to collect the first at least 10 issues. I have 101, 102, 103, 108, 109, but I didn't have 104 and 105. And I got these from our friends over at Samurai Comics. What's cool about these ones, and shout out again, they made me a good deal. They were asking 15 a piece with the tape on the cover on this one, as you see there, and it's in pretty rough shape. It was more like a $5 book, and this one was actually in pretty good shape. Still some wear and tear, definitely like some yellow pages and everything. This one is more like a $25 book, but they got me both of them for $20, so a heck of a deal. But the reason I'm showcasing these ones last is I use those comic capsules for them. So I'm gonna give you my pros and cons and a tip I now have for if you're gonna use these. So with my first review I did for them, I remember one of the things I said was like, oh, you can't put a bag and board in there with the book. Well, you could, but with me, I use Silver Age bags and boards, even for modern comics, because that way if they're in my bag or something and they're bouncing around, they're not going to get dinged on the corners. So those capsules don't work for me, someone like me, which is actually a lot of the comic book collecting community. In fact, I was chatting with a few people, including like Will over there from our Galaxy, and he even told me he does the same thing because it makes sense. You don't want to ding the book. You'd rather the board get the damage if something were to happen. But our friends of our comic capsule took my review and decided to send me a couple of the Silver Age ones because I'm a Silver Age collector. And good experience with a couple of remarks. So one, the first book I tried to put in there was this X-Men Annual 14. It wouldn't fit. But to be fair to them, it wouldn't fit in my top loader either. The reason is, it is a thicker book. So with the bag and board and everything, it was a little too thick to actually fit in here. So it wasn't just comic capsule, that was also my normal top loaders that I use for most of my books. Then when I go put this one in, it was still a tight fit with the bag and board, but I'm okay with that because you don't want this bouncing around. It's supposed to be a little snug in there. But the one thing I will say, I already fixed it before. I shouldn't have fixed it before I talked to you guys. Putting it in there, this part here got caught, so eventually I'll kind of recreate it. It looked like this when I pulled it out of my bag. The bag was kind of sticking out. I was actually doing that with the other book I had as well. So this is where my tip comes in. So yeah, you can put them in there and kind of force the page down like that to make sure it's in there. Or what I did, because I was checking the quality of the book anyway, so I had it out of there. Any kind of books you're planning on putting inside of these comic capsules, I'd recommend putting them in the bag and board upside down. That prevents that from happening. As you see, this one's folded too, because the same thing happened with that one when I first put it in. So by putting a bag and board like that, face down, sliding it in, there was no issues getting it caught, and it fits perfectly. So my original kind of gripe I had with the case, if you read the directions and put the right size bag and board and everything in there, it fits just fine. And this is ideal for going around comic conventions because, like, I'd rather put the X-Men Annual 14 in there because it's a little bit more valuable of a book. But if I get like a higher end Silver Age, let's say I picked up like Hulk or Captain America like 110, which is, a reasonably sought after book, I'd rather have that in here than a top loader where it could slide out of the top. And my normal like magnetic ones I get from Ultra Pro are just way too big to carry multiples of those around. So these are perfect for that. And I totally get how somebody would want to display them. The only feedback I would have is I would like to see the colors kind of be more seamless, because this definitely kind of stands out to me a little bit more. And I know they have a thing where you can put your own labels on there too to, you know, say what the books are and all that. I'm not quite there yet, but I like the idea that that's a possibility. So that's it. That is my books and my picks up from TCAT and my little secondary review of the comic book capsule holders. Thanks for watching. I love comic books, and I hope you do too. Otherwise, that'd be weird that you made it this far. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We go on adventures all the time, whether it's traveling, whether it's tech, whether it's comic books, whatever catches our fancy. This is more of a lifestyle and family vlog than anything else. And I'd like you to go on a ride with us. And if you haven't done so, take a ride again with us soon. That made no sense. Sorry, I'm tired. Next video will be in Phoenix for Monster Jam for the kids, which for me is like in an hour, for you guys, a few days. Until then, bye-bye.